And we're here.
Are we though? That is the real question.
It is
Ruben.
absolutely the question.
I think I'm here. I can't see Michael.
I'm hearing a chuckle of
we
Michael
can
in the
hear him.
background. He's
Can
here.
everyone see him, or are they just looking at me?
Currently, just you. Let me
that'll
see
do
if we
us
can
a
get
start.
Michael in here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael is on his way. He is coming to us live from parts unknown. Hopefully. Hey!
So can you see me? Because I can't see any of you guys at all.
We can
I
see
can
you,
see you.
Michael.
That's
How's
all
it
good.
going?
Oh, good stuff. Oh, well, yeah, it's good up here. How are you guys down there?
Yeah, so far so good. We think everything's working. Ruben doesn't look quite as flustered as before we started, so I think we're off. We've made a start at least. Can everyone hear us in the chat? Matt seems a little low quality. Low quality or low volume?
About Matt? Or
In general or just the audio?
We're running some funky settings to try and get this thing up and running. So, bear with us.
Yeah, Ruben's all over it. He's tickling the keys, figuring it out. It's going to be fine.
while he's playing around with it, Matt, did you realise as we do this, it's actually July 4th in the
Yes.
States?
Oh, well,
It's all
happy Independence
parties
Day.
over there at the moment. Yeah. Set off some fireworks for us because we can't do that over here.
Unless
Aren't there
you're in
parts
the
of Australia where you can do that? Is it
unless you're in the
Central
Northern
Australia?
Territory and it's one day a year.
Yeah, it's on Territory Day.
Yep.
I'm not even sure you can in Canberra anymore, although I won't swear to that.
If only we knew a guy who
Yeah,
had a bit
it's,
of influence in the pyro scene.
Yeah. Mate, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
So yes, I was tempted to put something to do with July, 4th of July in the title, but it wouldn't really work for us in Australia because we are already over into July 5th here. So
Yeah, missed it.
Yeah, but it's still good to remember our northern brethren and their struggle for independence, which some would argue continues today.
yeah, it looks like there was a bit of discussion going on about that in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we have any viewers from the US of A, let us know in the chat. What are you doing to celebrate? And does it involve gold and or silver? That's the real question.
Yeah, that could be good. So while we're waiting for that, how are you boys? What's happening down there?
It's been a pretty interesting week. We had a release. We had the proper release of the Honeybee this week, which was super cool for Little Coin Shop, our sister company. I had a lot of fun. I put one of the shots in the intro there. I had a lot of fun filming with that coin. Just shows up absolutely beautifully. Interested in knowing what people's thoughts were on that one. So let us know if you saw that video. And we also had
Jeff's.
Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just saying, Jeff's just got back from a wild 4th of July party, so it's good to see you staggered back through the door, mate.
And also
Keep
for
going.
Bullion,
What were you going to say, Rubes?
also for Bullion Now, we had a bit of a combined unboxing. We had some of the platinum products from PAMP and Valcambi. We had the Buffalo. So some cool things have come out.
Oh,
Yeah, we had
the
those
Buffalo.
combi bars come in.
Yes.
Yeah, the Buffalo was cool, but it's the combi. Well, no, the Buffalo is really good. It was good to see. I got to say, I was a bit. Excuse me. I was a bit nervous about that Buffalo because it's the first PAMP product I've seen them do produced by another manufacturer in the States, and I wasn't sure what the quality would be like, but it's actually pretty good. So yeah, I was happy with that one. But we've got the combi bars back in.
What do you put that down to? Is it that a lot of their products were going over to the US already, and so they were like, it makes sense for us to establish it here? Is it purely cost? Is it, what kind of reason do you think that they're broadening that?
PAMP are making inroads into the States, so they've actually bought some of the American companies, bullion companies over there, including, I believe, manufacturing facilities. So I'd say they're just they're using their own manufacturing facility. Excuse me, in the States. I've been without asthma all day and it's just started to kick in again.
Activated by stream.
All the excitement of the stream.
Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, I think that's actually what's kicked that off. And look, I got to say, I thought it was quite a successful product. It was good to see them branching out like that.
Well, that's it. They had the more angry-looking buffalo with liberty, independence, and freedom on it. And yeah, I think people tended to like it.
I don't know
if it's
who the
angry
person
or
in
it's-
charge of that. Whoever's in charge of quality control on that, having the PAMP brand attached to it, you'd want to be going over everything with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah. I think they did a good job, though. And I don't think I'd call it angry, Rubes. I reckon it's buffalo with attitude.
I think they described it
Passionate.
as a charging buffalo. I think was the charging with intent, perhaps. But
Yeah, that's more along the lines. I like the last. They were going for that charging buffalo. You wouldn't want to see a buffalo with a big smiley face on it. You'd want to see something with a bit of aggro to it. And I think they captured. If you can capture that, I think they captured it quite well on the coin. So yeah, I thought it was good.
have you seen the news that Metal Inquisitor has told us about in chat there? And they also, I'm not sure if it was them or someone else, but mentioned it in a comment earlier this week that Suncorp, the bank, have been swallowed up by the ANZ.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's been in the wings for, geez, it must be 3 years now.
Yeah, I saw something having to be approved by the treasurer to say actually that is actually possible to happen. You know, they're at the scale where permission is actually required, not just some backroom deals.
I think he's
Michael,
just muted himself.
Michael, we've lost
Unreal.
you.
I think it's a temperamental microphone.
Yeah, I don't know if he can hear us to stop talking. Oh no.
Oh, he may have muted us as well when he's done that.
Yeah, I wonder. So I think you're in the
Joyce,
same.
Maybe the chat needs to go off and say, Michael, it looks like you've muted yourself because he can't hear us. We're relying on the chat now. Please help us
Please
out.
give us a hand. Thank you. It sounds like it is actually happening. We did have this happen once before in testing, so hopefully we can bring him back.
Michael, you're muted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
I think he just needs to tap that button, right? On that microphone, there's a little button on the... I'm explaining. Yeah, I'm not sure if he... Maybe he can see the gesture. I think there's a mute button, isn't there?
There is one big button. Well, we may have to swap to just us for a bit. I can send Michael a new link, and potentially you can come back in and join us.
Is he frozen? He's disappeared.
Yeah, I'll pull him off for a second and shoot him a new link. We'll see if he can come back.
He'll figure it out. What a guy! Live television, live broadcast. I said this earlier. You'd think we'd have this totally down pat by now. That we've done a few of these remote ones now, but.
The thing is it changes every time. We're doing it from different locations. We had the one recently in Perth.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that was a disaster.
Yeah,
that was a memorable one.
That's it. We had the Sydney one that worked quite well. We did the live stream of the conference, which hopefully will be happening again.
So are we teeing that up again? There'll be a live stream component from the Monday night.
That's the plan. I think we'll see if that actually happens. I do have a Michael supposedly that is attempting to rejoin. Let me see if we have him back for audio as well.
Hey, I can hear something. Yeah.
Hey!
I'm still not hearing you.
Well, the stream.
Maybe he's just not listening.
The stream can hear you, so
yeah, you're fine.
Well, the stream can hear you, so.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us for this.
I'm getting delayed feedback from you, so I don't know where that's coming from.
Well, how about now? I don't know. I'll just talk and see if you can hear me, and we'll just try and...
This is very much like the setting
ahead.
up a Skype call with your parents or something. Like, it feels very reminiscent of that, or the early days of Zoom where everyone was still trying to get their setup.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Michael coming to you from dial-up internet.
Apparently.
Has he turned his earphones off? I can hear him.
Yeah, we can hear him just fine. No, chat can as well. He's typing.
And he's typing furiously. Dan, this is in shambles.
So you can hear me okay?
Yeah, mate.
So you can hear me okay?
I can hear him. I can hear...
Yeah, so I'm hearing you about 10
seconds.
seconds, or I'm hearing me in echo about 10 seconds after I talk.
I'm wondering if we cut away from this for a bit and we come back to him in a second.
Yeah, I wonder if Michael's getting what I was concerned about. He's getting the stream audio rather than the direct.
Mm.
I'm not a computer guy, if you haven't noticed in the chat. This is why we rely on Ruben. Just give general observations.
All right, we're coming back to just you for a bit, Matt.
Hey,
we will
welcome back.
attempt to sort some of that out.
We apologise
in the
for the
background.
delay to your our transmission.
Some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Thanks for bearing with us.
We've got our tech team working.
Had you heard much about the acquisition of Suncorp?
No, I hadn't. This is brand new news to me. So, funnily enough, I think I can actually relate to a lot of our viewers in that I learn about these things firsthand. I suppose you do as well, Ruben. From Michael, it's kind of nice on Friday afternoon when we have these news headlines and things like that coming through. As I often say, we rarely speak to Michael throughout the week, so Friday truly is our catch-up time. So it's equally as frustrating for us with technical difficulties because I want to hear Michael's take on these things and get a little more educated as well.
100%. You know, we are essentially doing a bit of a news broadcast here where we're sharing some of the information, but it is very much propelled by people who send through articles and stuff to us to keep us in the loop on things. So, no,
can you use your little button, put up if anyone has any hot leads, hot tips, all that sort of thing, they can send us through information.
I'm not sure what email. There we go. It is the correct email. There we go.
.com.au.
That's
so if you stumble upon an interesting article and you would like to hear, all three of us and what our takes are on it, more often than not, you'll get more interesting information from Michael. But Ruben and I'll chime in with some thoughts and opinions here and there. We appreciate any kind of news tips, or even if, we see occasionally people on holiday that decide to take along their Bullion Now memorabilia. We see the bags that travel the world, or just anything of interest. Send it through and we'll put it up and have a chat about it.
There's a couple of things people are talking about in Michael's absence. One is people wanting some answers about ANDA, Perth ANDA, which is a kind of dealer kind of expo thing that'll be coming up in Perth in a little bit that you happen to have a bit of a hand in, so potentially chat about that. But also they're wanting us to do some specials whilst Michael's not here. Now, we were talking about one for some 100-gram bars, but I don't know if that got off the ground. So if any of the guys in the back are watching, shoot me through a message and we'll see if we can organise a special in Michael's absence. But might.
We've already hinted to it now. We've half assured people now.
It's basically happening at this point. But
it's absolutely happening. You have our word. There will be a special today.
What could go wrong?
That's your incentive to stick around. And by the sounds of it, there'll be 100-gram somethings. Whether they're gold or silver, you'll have to stick around and find out.
That's it. Has anyone on the marketing team for ANDA, as Oddjobs just pointed out the Perth ANDA being panda?
That's genius. No, I didn't even think about that, although we do need a marketing department. So, odd job, you may have just found yourself a new odd job.
Hey!
Oh, gee whiz.
We're floundering here, Matt. I think we'll have a Michael attempting to join us back, so potentially we'll be back for another bout of technical difficulties, but hopefully not. Hopefully this time we are working as intended. Let's
Perfect.
See how we go here.
Fingers crossed.
Have we got you, Michael?
Yeah, I can hear him breathing.
I can hear him breathing again. I don't think he can hear us. It's another thing again.
I'm hearing anything, Rubes. Not again. I don't know what's going on. Let me change speakers, see if that helps.
Yeah, change speakers. I don't know why I'm talking to him as though he can hear me. Maybe he gets on a delay. Look at this. It's like one of those rock stars when his guitar doesn't work in a gig. Just throw it away. Do it live.
No, Ruben's job is not on the line. This is clearly not my fault. Clearly Michael, and he can't disagree with that because he currently can't hear us, and that's the entire problem.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, well, you can. Oh, hey! He's
That's
back.
one way to
I had
fix
to
it.
fix the headphones though.
Yeah, that's all right. All right, we're back, everyone.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
headphones
one way to
fault.
fix it.
They've
Start
killed it.
speaking ill of the guy.
Oh, that's it.
All right, I heard Matt committing us to a special below spot and all sorts of things.
No.
Hang on. No. That was the chat. The chat went rogue. I was just reading out comments, Michael. I had nothing to do with
Is that what it
that.
was?
Yeah, for sure. So we're
It's all
talking
good
banks.
stuff.
You were giving us the lowdown on ANZ. Was it ANZ and Suncorp?
That's the ones.
Yeah, ANZ and Suncorp. No, I was just saying that Ruben was saying he was surprised it had to go before the Treasurer. And I was saying a lot of things now, particularly with the new regulation they haven't got through yet, but they're trying to push through, is you don't actually have to be very big now before you're going to have to have permission to take over another company. It's they're really cracking down on it nowadays. For better or worse, I don't know which it is, to be 100% honest.
Well, there was some discussion around all that kind of governmental, I guess, oversight, overreach. To a clip we put out on our YouTube channel the other day from Stream, talking about whether or not businesses should accept, should be almost made to accept cash. And someone's argument was basically, it should be entirely up to the business whether they make that decision or not. True freedom is actually the fact that they don't. True freedom is that they get to decide what forms of payment they take, and don't have any government oversight into which ones they have to take.
Yeah, that's a two-edged sword, though, because one of the reasons we all accept fiat money is because everyone has, and I know I'm going to cause a little bit of uproar in the chat over this one, but everyone has confidence in the fact that their $20 note is worth $20 and everyone will accept it. So to a degree, to keep that confidence there, the government needs to ensure that everyone accepts currency. Now, a few years ago, they actually made it so you have to accept Australian currency. They just don't specify what form you have to take it in. So you no longer have to take cash. That's no longer a requirement, but you still must accept the Australian dollar as your currency. And I think it's a good thing that they do, because like I said, it's a two-edged sword. If we all of a sudden decide that we're not going to accept it anymore, it would cause the collapse of the economy. So while I'm absolutely a free market guy, and I believe that the government should stay out, I think this is one area where you want the government actually saying this is what we all need to abide by. It's kind of like, there are some fundamental laws that you need the government to enforce to maintain a civil society, and I think that is actually one of them.
Oddjob's talking there about letting the invisible hand of the market decide if they wish to accept cash or not. I think some people would say that the banks and government are actually almost deliberately leading people down that path. Do you think it's that, or do you think that it's just naturally where people are wanting to go, or particularly Australians are choosing to send it because of how convenient it is?
Yeah. I think Oddjob's kind of right and kind of wrong on that one. We do have, you actually do now, you didn't have 5-6 years ago, but we actually do now have the option of not accepting cash if we don't want as a business. So we do have that free market decision, if you like. You still must accept some form of Australian currency, but it can be digital. It doesn't have to be the folding stuff. But we live in a world that is strongly discouraging us as a business to take cash. So the banks don't like us taking cash. The government's putting extra regulations on us, particularly in bullion, extra regulation on us if we are going to take cash. So we're not being strong-armed yet, but it's getting close that we're being strong-armed to not accept cash.
I'm not expecting you to necessarily know the ins and outs of this one quite as much because it's a different country, but Casey there quoting the US dollar line, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Is it almost a completely separate thing in the US? Do they have any legal backing to not accept cash, or is this an Australian only kind of problem?
Yeah, look, I can't say I know the ins and outs of American law in regards to this. I actually would. I'm making an assumption here. Okay, so if the Americans want to chirp in and tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. But I would assume it's very similar over there. We still have a basic understanding that ours is legal tender for all debts, but as a private organisation, I no longer have to accept it. I can say, well, it's the same as I don't have to accept every customer that comes through the store. We are free to say, look, I'm really sorry, but we don't want to conduct this transaction. And one of the reasons I can say that, my understanding is, I'm not accepting that form of payment. I mean, it's still legal for you to write a check on the hide of a cow, like on the back of a cow, and that becomes a legal form of making a payment. That is still enshrined in our law. But I can tell you there's not many retailers that are going to accept your cow that you've written your check on the hide of as payment for their goods. So, there is a certain degree of you don't have to accept the payment form if you don't want.
Going to shift us to a couple of, I guess, more bullion-related questions. I think this is still an important segment that we talk about and keep updated because it's one of the reasons people look at bullion. But there's a couple of questions there, more specific bullion-related. Chirping asking, is it easy for Bullion Now to get Palladium in all year round?
Yes.
What kind of main forms of Palladium can or do we get through? Because I remember seeing Perth Mint, for example, producing some kookaburras and things like that in Palladium. I think I've seen some Russian coins in Palladium, but I don't tend to see too many of those now. So, what are your options if you were looking at investing in it?
Look, there's not a lot of options in Palladium. It's not the easiest of metals to work with, and traditionally it hasn't been popular in the stacking market. So a lot of places don't produce it anymore. They're not set up to produce it. Really, there's only two main manufacturers in the world that handle Palladium, and even the different variations you see in bars usually originate from one of those two manufacturers. So that's the difficulty, is getting variety. It's not so much getting hold of the stuff itself. Because as far as I'm aware, I can't think of anything that Perth Mint now produces. The wholesalers that I see, none of them have Palladium coins. Off the top of my head, they do have some Palladium bars. I can't think of any coming out of the US or Europe at all. So
the only one I know,
it's not hard to get hold of Palladium in and of itself. It's to get variety. I don't think it exists.
Yeah, I remember some maples we were getting pushed to get some maples through a while ago in Palladium, but that's kind of the only one I can remember.
Yeah, that's true.
There's also some questions.
Yeah, you're probably right. The Canadian Mint might be doing some.
Also, some questions there as to if there's any updates on the Pakenham store.
Yeah.
Oh, what a thorn in my side that is.
You announced it.
We actually got to a point this week where we actually we have signed a contract on the Pakenham store. And it was meant to settle at the end of January, give or take a little bit. I got to a point this week where we actually made an offer on another store in Pakenham entirely on the condition that we could settle within either 14 or 28 days, because it's just got to the point of ridiculous. And as I knew would happen, as we made that offer, I got a phone call to say, we're ready to finalise the Pakenham store. So, like the first one. So the news I can give you is it looks like final settlement will occur within the next 2 weeks on that one. And it has to occur within the next 2 weeks, because in 3 weeks' time, all the major vaults and everything all arrive and get constructed in whichever place we end up in will have to be set up there. So we should start seeing movement on that in the very near future.
We've had plenty of people come through the store, very excited about that. People that have been coming through into Melbourne, looking forward to the concept of parking, easy parking, and the ability to move stuff to and from their car a lot easier than having to come up the elevator.
Yes, I got to say, I'm looking forward to. It's been a major headache for us, and a major distraction on a lot of other things that I said would happen throughout BN this year. And we just haven't been able to, because we've had to focus so much on this distraction. So I will be very relieved when people have parking there, because it'll mean that we've ticked a heck of a lot of boxes.
Yeah. Let's Make Money is they're referring to a comment you made a couple of weeks ago about some news for the Melbourne store that we haven't really followed back on yet. Is there anything else we can say about
actually, why not make an announcement today?
Hey!
Yeah, we're overdue for
Why
something.
not? I'm away, so what could possibly go wrong? So where we are in Melbourne on level 6 there, as anyone can attest who's actually been into our store, usually the first comment is, wow, I thought this was going to be bigger. Because it is tiny. I mean, the whole store, including our storage area at the back, is only 45 square metres, which is tiny for a shop our size. And like our turnover and the number of people that we managed to squeeze in there on any one day. Fortunately or unfortunately, the last probably 12 months, we've been looking for somewhere in Melbourne in the CBD that we can at least open as well as keeping level 6. I don't think we'll ever let go of level 6. But we've been looking at a variety of options around Melbourne. And a couple of months ago, the diamond dealers who are actually next door to us came to me and said, look, we're moving out. Is there any chance you want to take over our lease in our store? Because it is literally one wall between us and them. And my response to them was, let me think about that. Yeah, all right, let's do it. And so that has now come to a head. We are signing contracts on that next week. But the landlord knows about it. I know about it. The neighbour knows about it. We've all agreed to it. So we will be punching a hole in the wall, the left-hand wall as you come into the store. We're going to punch a hole in there, and we're actually going to go through into the shop next door as well. So it will mean that we'll have more room for waiting, so you're not going to have to wait out in the corridor any longer. We're going to be able to open up our bench where we serve from, so it'll mean we can serve more people at once and hopefully more privacy, because sometimes when we try and stack 3 or 4 serving benches or serving counters, serving spots on that front bench, you really have no privacy in your transaction, and that's just not acceptable. So we're going to make a much bigger bench, and so people have got more privacy in their transactions, and it also gives us more what we call VIP rooms or private rooms that we can actually take people into. So the whole transaction can be completely private, and we're going to have enough room and the staffing for that. So we're really excited about that. It probably won't happen till before Christmas. So we're talking September, October time before the reality of that will actually occur. But very, very soon you're going to see us growing in size in Melbourne as well, which is a real relief for everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, fantastic to have the plan in place to say to people as they're waiting, hey, this is now a temporary problem, not one we're not sure how to fix. There's been a few people saying for a while, can't you just put some chairs out there or something? And we've sadly had to say no because the building has gotten upset with us in the past for similar things. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully this is a solution that'll completely solve that. Yeah.
I just want to knock Odd Job's comment on the head there, where he says, with all the expansion going on for BN, those BN margins must be big. No. It's just we want to provide a much better service, and we can't do it with what we're doing now. We had and I don't want to make a big deal of this, but we had an incident, I think it was last week or I think it was last week, where, and we see it happen, and I'm embarrassed about it, where we actually have people basically leave the store because they physically can't wait any longer, and that's not good customer service. That's terrible customer service. So I can't stand that. The whole reason we set up BN was because I was frustrated with the service that we got in the bullion industry, and I wanted to see it improve. There's a lot of industries that I have that attitude with. Bullion is the first one that we are attacking. We will do some others as well, but particularly the fact that we've fallen in the same hole where we're not able to provide that excellent customer service anymore, purely because we've become a victim of our own success, where we've got lots of people that want to deal with us and not the capacity to do that properly. It's been devastating me for probably 2 years now, and I'm glad that we've finally got a solution where hopefully we can go back to providing that next level of customer service, which is what we all try to attain.
And it's looked like it's hitting kind of all at a very similar time. We've got this, that's it now, planned for expansion for the CBD. We've got Pakenham opening up, and you did say that we might have an update on somewhere interstate by the end of this month. So it's kind of all coming to a head all at once.
Yeah, me getting sick might have pushed that end of the month a little bit.
Here we go.
I'm hoping that the end of the month we were on target for the end of the month until the end of last week. And that was the first inkling I got that, maybe I'm going to need a week or two extension on that one. But yeah, hopefully. Ruben won't let me talk about international yet.
No, I just thought people would be getting sick of some of the, this is coming. So, let's wait until we got something more concrete. But yeah, the plans for expansion are definitely there, and we're excited and appreciate you all for coming along for the ride with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, nothing ever works in the straight line that you plan it out, but I got to say this last 12 months has been more twists and turns than I've ever experienced in my life. So, it'll be interesting.
Now, whilst everything seems to be running smoothly on the tech, I wanted to get your opinions and talk on a topic that I really don't know too much about and haven't been paying attention to, but is pretty big world news at the moment, and that is some of the elections going on right now, both in the UK and in France, and also the Americans obviously kicking off some of their debates and things has kind of been in the news as well. But you said you wanted to focus mostly on France.
Yeah, look, it's. I don't know if it's exciting times. I don't know if that's the wording you use, but it's the word I'm going to use. It's exciting times at the moment, where we're seeing major upheaval amongst some of the major economies, Western economies around the world. What's going on in France at the moment can be almost called a civilized coup, where you've got the potential for a complete change of government. And it's not just the change between, like in Australian terms, between, Liberal and Labor. This is a change between Labor and, I don't know how you'd put it, a really, it's not just swung slightly right-wing. They're swinging to a major right-wing party. And I don't want to get political on this. It's just an interesting observation. You've got the UK that is this isn't just a change of government. This is a complete and utter throwing out and dumping of the current government. They're going to take, it's something insane, 70, 80% of the seats are going to be taken by the opposition, which will now be called, and I think someone said earlier that the UK has already declared the change of government. I haven't seen that. We were running around with a few too many technical issues before we came online. But this is a complete and utter changeover. And then you've got the states heading towards who knows what at the end of the year with their election. To see so many major economies around the world do complete 180s, and in some case, like France, it's not just a 180. This is an extreme 180. You can see the ripples occurring through markets, because stock markets particularly are and currency markets are very forward looking, and you're seeing the initial ripples going through there now. It was up, down, up, down, up, down, where they were all of a sudden worried about how France was looking after the European elections, and the French Prime Minister declared a snap election, and then they realised how much trouble the ruling parties were in France. And now it's all hands on deck to try and stop this party from getting in. And one day the markets are going, okay, it looks like they won't get as much power as we thought they were going to. And then the next day it's, oh, heck no, they are getting more power. And so the markets are up and down. So we're seeing, and you've seen a little bit of it, you've seen this uptick of gold again. It's not shooting through the roof or anything like that, but it's kind of, in Australian dollar terms, it's maintaining that high above that 3,500. I'm not saying it's going to stay there, particularly Friday night. It depends on how we go into the weekend with France. But you're seeing that uptick there. You're seeing it up in US dollar terms. You're seeing a strengthening of the Australian dollar, which is interesting. We're seeing a lot of things, a lot of indications that people are nervous, and for very, very good reason. So the next 6 to 12 months, we are going to see the Western world particularly the face of it completely change. And now the question is it for the better or worse? And none of us actually know yet. The France is going very, very, very right wing. Interestingly enough, it looks like Australia is going very, very left wing. The UK is, I'm not really sure. Their parties confuse me because their right-wing parties seem to favour left-wing policies and vice versa. So it'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out as well. I think we've got a very, very interesting 12 months coming up. And for me personally, and this is dragging it back to bullion, for me personally, this is pushing me a bit more towards gold. I think if you view a live stream probably a month ago, one of the live streams where I said I was pulling back from buying precious metals because I wasn't sure. Now I'm redirecting. Me personally, this is not financial advice. Me personally, I'm directing a lot more of my investment into gold now because of the potential for massive instability around the world over the next 12 months. We've talked about governments. We haven't talked about what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in the Ukraine, those types of things. There's a lot of serious people now are coming out saying potentially within months we're going to be looking at a farm, not World War III, but certainly the step before that. We've got these regional conflicts that are getting bigger and bigger. We've got this political and civil unrest around the world. This is very, very similar to the lead into both World War I and World War II. So there's a lot of nervousness out there amongst a lot of brand name people. So that's just the way I'm looking at it. And I'd be interested. Now I've gone on my diatribe. I'd be interested to see the comments in the chat and what other people are thinking about.
Yeah, always good to get that couple of different opinions there. See what people think.
What are your thoughts, Matt, Rubes?
I don't know. I don't follow these things closely enough. I feel like you're a lot more dialed in. I was saying when you were tuned out before, Michael, it's always nice to do these live streams to get your take on these things because this is sort of my weekly dose of news and current events as well. So it sounds like, I guess this has always been the case. I guess for the past few years, it's always felt like we're entering uncharted waters. Every time there's something, any kind of intersection in any nation with the current sort of global landscape the way it is, it feels like everything is a major intersection, and this basically being no different. And obviously with everything now going on with the US election and all of the excitement surrounding the first debate, it's very, very interesting times. And it's also interesting now to being, part of this channel, to look at these events and then look at it in terms of potential impacts on the bullion market as one component of it. Often I think we see people come in the store saying, oh, I saw this, one part of the debate, the US debate, and that will have this effect on the markets and things like that. But I think it's also important that we bear in mind that this is one component of the entire global landscape, and there are many other factors at play. But it's certainly fascinating to look at these things and to also get your opinions on them, Michael. So that's my way of saying I enjoy hearing what you've got to say, and you provide a very interesting insight, and also the chat as well. I think there are a lot of people that watch this channel that follow these things closely and have interesting and similarly informed opinions.
Does it impact your investing profile whether you're hearing it from me or whether you hear it on the news? Does it impact the way you invest, or does it's just a point of interest for you?
The world news, not so much, but often when we have conversations, I think it's probably partially human nature as well. When you have conversations with people, particularly, I guess, with the dynamic that people often see on this channel is almost that father-son dynamic, if you will. And I think when you have those
now you're
conversations...
making me feel old.
Well, you know what I mean. I think when you have conversations with people whose opinions you respect and attribute some substance to, that is always going to, for me, be more influential than any form of media, because I think
it's like a word of mouth review. It's
exactly.
like you take much more,
yeah,
respect
and I think
from
the
that.
last couple of years in particular, with the rise of various forms of social media, have really highlighted how often heavily biased mainstream media can be. So even then, I often just browse current news headlines and things like that, but I tend to take a lot more of that with a pinch of salt than I would previously. Whereas a number of years ago, I would just look at the news headlines and take that at face value and say, well, this is what's happening around the world, and these are all facts. There's no sort of major slant one way or another for these things. You give me a nod, Ruben, if I dropped out. Oh. But yeah, so I think generally my investing habits are more influenced by in-person conversations and as we've said on the channel on a number of occasions, if we ever get a bit heated in our conversations, it's when that whole iron sharpens iron thing comes into play, and it'll be a hybrid of the people that I'm interacting with and my own previously formed opinions, and then I reach, a solution or a resolution internally after distilling all the information at hand, rather than purely just taking articles and things at face value.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of things there. One is, no matter who says what, I guess I want to emphasize for everyone here, don't do things in a hurry. Don't listen to what I just said and go, I've got to throw everything out that I was doing and now I've got to go and do this. No. I'm not saying there's a race here on or anything along those sort of lines. So I want to be clear about that from the start. But you mentioned mainstream media there. I think mainstream media is good to kick off with. I've possibly just upset a lot of people by saying that, but whenever you read any article, you need to look for the bias behind it. Even the conversations that we're having right now, you've got to understand whether it's intentional or unintentional. Matt and I and Ruben, we all have our own biases. I'm an older guy. I'm a bullion dealer. I would consider myself sitting further to the right than a lot of people. Those types of things influence my attitudes, my behaviours, my beliefs, and the words that I say. So when I look at mainstream media, I look at them for, take the French election, for example. They will emphasise, okay, this is what's happening. This is our opinion of what's happening in France. And then you start digging a bit deeper. Okay, why is that happening? Why are they saying it's happening that way? Is there evidence to show that that's happening the opposite way? Is this good? Is this bad? Why are they believing what they're believing? So it's good to use those mainstream media things to actually start your investigation into developing your own opinion on these things. It always concerns me when people say, I never look at mainstream media, because it's good to know what the conversation is, even if you don't necessarily believe the conversation. It lets you know what they are thinking, and then it allows you to research and form your own opinion. So that's always very healthy. The other thing that I picked up on while Matt was talking was in the chat, people were saying that they're moving away from collectibles and more into precious metals and stacking as cheaply as they can. While I'm not saying that that's wrong, I also counter with when World War II occurred, paintings didn't all of a sudden lose their value. Yes, they were harder to convert into immediate cash, but if you look at what, for example, the Nazi regime did on their way through Europe, is they stacked massive collections of art and those types of things because they were still incredibly valuable. So I'm not saying go out and buy any collectible that's out there, but what I am saying is that you don't need to move away from the collector market if that is part of your passion and part of the way that you preserve your wealth. Because as they frequently say, this too shall pass. So even if we move into a depression scenario and it becomes, terrible, World War One, the Great Depression, World War Two, it's still a good way of maintaining your wealth and transferring wealth. It will, no matter what we go through, it will pass and will come out the other side. And you'll find that if you've selected your collections intelligently with good advice, you will find that they will still be increasing in value over those periods, so long as you don't need to get rid of them in a hurry.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to a lot of the time with a lot of those collectibles is how long do you have to actually sell it? That is a very big component of it. There was something you spoke about in Berlin with one of the gentlemen we interviewed over there, where you're talking about your surprise at the time that, considering some of the things were kind of bubbling along in the economy and things like that, the price wasn't taking off more than it was at the time. It did actually end up going on a little bit of a run after that, but based on everything that's going on with the elections and the conflicts and things like that, are you surprised at where it's sitting now? I think there's been some comments, and I'll ask you a further question based on this afterwards. But yeah, there's been, I think, some people surprised that the gold and silver price are kind of just hovering where they are.
I'm actually not surprised it's staying where it is, if I'm completely honest, because I think everyone's in a state of confusion at the moment. Everyone's waiting for something to happen. It's why we see things trickle up a bit, trickle down a bit, trickle up a bit, trickle down a bit, because everyone's positioning themselves at the moment. They've got a foot in both camps, and they're just not sure. Even if France does swing very heavily right wing over the weekend, I think you will see some movement in the price of gold, but I don't think you'll see massive movement because you've still got a very central left-leaning president over there. They have an interesting political system. So it wouldn't shock me to see gold stay in the kind of range that it's been bouncing around in for a while. But I still think we will see it. I think we'll see it at least hold its value, but I'm expecting to see it trend upwards when we get a clearer picture of what's going to occur around the world over the next 12 months. One of the reasons I'm stacking more gold, because I'm not sure. I've got a foot in multiple camps. I own Bullion Now, I own businesses. I still own real estate. I haven't dumped it. But I am steering a lot more towards gold because I know that if the worst case scenario does play out, I know that I've got gold there as a backup for myself. But I also know if tomorrow I wake up and it's all sunshine and roses and life is great, I've still got gold. It's still going to hold its value. I'm still going to be able to change it into the other things that I may want to change it into. So it's a good holding pattern investment for me.
So this was a question from George over on Instagram. They say, I've been stacking silver slowly since early 2000s and price never really mattered much to me, but I'm curious to what the public sentiment is like when the price is flatlined for a while. Do people really chase it when it's going up and lose interest at times like these? Cheers.
You two can answer this question.
Absolutely, 100%. The times that it runs hot, it is so interesting to observe that firsthand, being on the counter, seeing people rushing in with this sense of panic that it's moving up, by the minute. I have to get as much as I can now, and they're the times, and I think people become very susceptible to their own bias being reinforced by those articles that when we talked about earlier, certain articles having a various biases attached to them. Those people can also often tend to fall down the rabbit hole of looking at YouTube videos and doing research into precious metals, which is heavily geared towards accumulating more of it. So when you look at these things and you start to go down the rabbit hole, people start telling you, silver is so undervalued, it's been suppressed, and now it's about to slingshot back up to its true value, which is over $100 per ounce. And when that doesn't eventuate within 7 to 10 business days, as they've been assured, they can feel a little hard done by and like they've missed some sort of imaginary boat. But I think the people that take, as you suggested earlier, Michael, not doing anything in a hasty fashion and taking your time, making... So let's say, for a hypothetical, you say you're using $1,000 for an example and silver's whatever it is, let's say it's $40 an ounce, not spending that whole $1,000 in one transaction because you're flustered and panicked, because you're going to spend the next few weeks checking the charts every few minutes, wondering when this explosive movement's going to happen. I guess it's a compelling case for a responsible approach to dollar cost averaging, and also equipping yourself with as much information as you can and making informed decisions that are entirely your decision, because often people make these decisions armed with other people's research and information. They haven't actually queried any of it or done further research. It's purely just some guy on YouTube said that this was the thing to do, so before watching anything else or reading anything else, I'm making a decision. And you wouldn't read about it. It didn't work out. And that guy's channel's not around anymore. So there's no recourse. Bummer. What was the question?
I think my take on it, Michael's lost it. I'm glad I cut back to him for that. I think it requires a little bit of a different mindset. We see a lot of people that have come into precious metals looking to lock aside profits from crypto and other, stocks and things like that. And they, very much do come into this, it's got to be moving one way or the other. If it's going up, that's great. I'll make a money. If it's dropping, maybe I can buy more and, wait for it to jump back up. And so when something like precious metals does have that very long-term kind of scale to it, I think if you don't come into it with that awareness, it can kind of make you go, oh, hang on, this isn't doing what I thought it might do. Quick, I'll move it around. And so, we very much do see some people go, hey, this has just been sitting. I'm going to, move it into something like crypto or something for those more dramatic movements. And it doesn't always work out. I know I've seen plenty of people come through the shop that have bought at the height of precious metals, sold at the loss, and then bought in at the high of another asset that they're trying to move into. But we absolutely do see that. And what is logical in buying low, selling high definitely doesn't always eventuate with what we see in the store.
I'm never a fan of mainstream cliches, but one that I can't argue against is it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. And there is a degree of truth to that. These, as Matt was saying, people that come in, and we try and counsel them out of it, but at the end of the day, we're free marketers. If you want to spend the money, we're not going to say, well, we're not going to sell to you. We only try and discourage you to a point. But the people that expect these explosive movements are just headed for trouble. But you can go back over pretty much any investment. And if you look over it over years, whether it be gold, silver, property, crypto, those types of things, all the movement over a year tends to occur within 7 to 10 trading days in that year. So if you're not holding it during those 2 or 3 explosive times where it occurs, then you basically get no growth at all. So with a lot of these things, you've got to hold them for an extended period of time. So people say gold's gone up 10%, or my crypto's gone up 1,000% in 2 seconds, or my property's gone up 5%, or whatever. You'll find a lot of that movement has occurred in a very, very, very short time. So if you're trying to time the market, it's very hard to pick the 3 to 7 trading days where that explosive movement occurs while you're living your normal life. So I encourage you to move away from that mindset and to start to move towards what I would term intelligent time in the market. So there are times when I scale back my investing, and I think Matt's the same. He talked about dollar cost averaging there. I would argue that there are times for dollar cost averaging and there are times to not. So sure, allocate some of your money to dollar cost averaging, but keep some aside, some dry powder aside, for those special times where the price dips. Prices drop down, only a week or so ago, 10 days ago, gold dropped down to that 34.50 Australian. It's now back above 3,500. So, it would have been better to amp up your dollar cost averaging a little bit while we were down at 3,400 than to keep chugging away with the same amount at 3,500 every day or every week, or whatever your investing pattern is. So I prefer the intelligent dollar cost averaging, or the intelligent time in the market, or timing the market, I should say, where you're recognizing you need to be in for longer periods. You take advantage of times when whatever asset you're looking at is down a bit. Don't just blindly buy it, but also accept that you are going to hold it for periods of time where it's just not going to go anywhere at all, upwards or downwards. It's just going to stagnate for a period of time. It's just the luck of the draw.
There's a question there from Silent Stecker that I might need some additional information on, unless I'm missing something. But they say, is it possible to buy and sell unlocked gold, silver, and platinum at Bullion Now? Please explain. As soon as I think unlocked, I think like mobile phone plan. It's it's not, you're not tied into a contract or anything like that. If that's what they're asking, then yeah, absolutely. But I don't know.
I'd assume unallocated is where he's heading with that.
Right.
But yeah, don't know.
Feel free to add some info to that one. There's also been some questions about the Pakenham store. So over on Facebook, they've said, will there be buyback gold available at the Pakenham shop?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an easy one. And someone else was also concerned that some of the things they had in storage might be moving out there when they would rather pick up from the CBD, and I guess vice versa.
Yeah, this is a hard one, and one we haven't got an answer to yet. Is the facility out of Pakenham is going to be much larger, certainly bigger than 45 square metres, I can tell you. It's going to be much larger than Melbourne. And obviously we own it, and land is cheaper out there than the Melbourne CBD. So we would like to move as much of the storage and things out there that we can. We also, a lot of our storage will go to our another storage area that we've got as well, to spread the risk around. But we have this issue of people that buy in Melbourne, won't want it stored out of Pakenham because they want to be able to roll into the store and say, look, I'm here, I want to pick up my last 2 orders sort of thing. And they're not going to be very happy when we turn around and say, really sorry, but your last 2 orders are actually stored out at Pakenham. So we're still coming to terms with exactly how we do this, whether we give you a ticker box option on the website or when you're placing the order of where you'd like it stored, or whether we just make an arbitrary decision. I don't know. We're not going to get it right in 100% of circumstances, but there's a lot of stuff that we've got stored close to Melbourne that would be good if we could move it out of there. We'll put it that way.
To be honest, based on my experience ordering through, completely separate industries, ordering products, I think through the website tends to be the main thing. It's, just click a box. Hey, I'm going to be able to pick it up from this store more likely than that one. I'll pop that through on the order and then roll through there when it's actually ready to go.
Yeah.
So hopefully something we can
implement. From Jason Cichlids, obviously a mad fish keeper. So he's wanting to know if we can source certain coins. So in this example, 2020 year of the mouse and 2021 year of the ox 1/10 gold coins. At the end of the day, we're a bullion dealer. So we don't tend to chase specific coins as such. Having said that, because we're a bullion dealer, we get a lot of coins sold back into the shop. So we do come across these older coins at different times. The problem is we can't say, absolutely, it's going to be in here on the 10th of July or anything along those sort of lines. It's like, well, I can say, no, we don't have it, but 10 minutes later, somebody might walk in with 10 of each of them, and all of a sudden I've got heaps of them. So my suggestion is, if you're in a screaming hurry for it, either hit a local coin shop or eBay, and I hate saying that, believe me. If you're not in a hurry for it, just keep checking in with us from time to time, and you'll find that eventually we'll have it.
There's even a couple of people that have piped up in chat about having them in the collection.
That's also another way is go onto some of these forums and that, and just say, look, this is what I'm looking for, because people that watch what we do here and go onto these forums, they're the type of people that are likely to have the sort of thing that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Speaking of kind of in-person events that you can trade bullion at, we have one coming up, Michael. People were asking about the metals meetup a couple of weeks ago, I think. Just something that is run in Melbourne, kind of chance to come through and meet in person, do some deals. There's an auction, that kind of thing. You would be able to roll through and pick up potentially some 1/10 previous lunar items. So that is happening on the 14th of July. that one. And I'll see if I can get. I'm assuming it's the same email as we would normally say, Michael, for that one.
Yeah, that's correct.
But yeah, I'll pop an email through in the chat, and if you email that person, they'll be able to provide you exactly where it's happening, when and where, all that kind of stuff. But it is on the 14th of this month, somewhere in the Melbourne CBD.
We also have another function coming up.
We do. Do you want to start talking about that one while I type this?
How many?
Yeah. So we've got Sydney coming up, the Sydney Gold Symposium, 26th, 27th, 28th. So we've said this a couple of times, but we're going to keep banging on about it for a while. So the 27th and 28th are the forum itself, or the symposium itself. A lot of good information there. And Ruben, hopefully when he catches up, will be able to indicate where you can get tickets from for that. But there's also the Monday night, the 26th, where Bullion Now is sponsoring. We need to come up with a better term for this, but an investment night where we're going to talk about how to invest in precious metals, both from a physical perspective, but also from a paper perspective, from a mining perspective, on several fronts. And there will be a team of, I hate calling people experts, because I always find when I run these things, I learn far more than anyone else in the room, sort of thing. I'm always learning new things where people are saying, "Oh, have you thought of this and have you thought of that?" And I go, "Oh, wow, never thought of it from that perspective." It's the same when I used to do a lot of training. I always found that I learnt more than the students, which says a lot. But yeah, so there'll be a lot of good people there that you can talk to, a lot of like-minded people. But we've also got, we can't talk too much about it, we've got another one of those special Bullion Now, a special release.
We are teasing this one, are we? Ooh.
Well, I'm hesitatingly teasing it. I don't want to give too much information away, but I'm actually really excited about this and about what's if it comes off, I'll be absolutely stoked. But yeah, hopefully there's going to be a special Bullion Now production release there. So stay tuned for more information on that one. But I strongly encourage, and I have done for the last few live streams, if you can get to Sydney, if you are in Sydney, if you are flying past Sydney, if you can get there in any form, I will guarantee you that you will not regret it. And I'll refund the cost of your ticket for the Monday night. And this is probably where we should mention that they're free tickets, but you must have a ticket to get in, because they are so popular that we have to limit numbers coming through the door. Crown got really cranky with us last year because we just kept slipping people through the door. And I think we possibly breached their fire code or something. But yeah, they got a little bit shirty with us. So yeah, make sure you get a ticket, because they're going to crack down on us this year. And come along on that Monday night if you can possibly do it, because you won't regret it.
There's a couple of people who have spoken up in chat to answer this one, but I think it'd be good to come from you as well. Delete My Account says, do Bullion Now and other Australian dealers pay spot for any coin size? For example, would 1/20th gold coins get a bit more given the large premiums? So do you get more for paying the larger premium on a more fractional piece of gold?
The short answer is no. And I know that's going to disappoint a few people, but the short answer is no. We're bullion dealers. We're very much just buying bullion. We try not to get caught up in the more numismatic side of, this is a coin, this is worth X, so therefore we'll pay X, Y, and Z. If you're wanting to go down those sort of lines, I'd suggest you go and see a coin dealer. I would caution you about that, because you're going to find a lot of coin dealers will not recognize the value of the metal in it. So what I tell people on the quiet, and I don't usually publicize this, is use Bullion Now as a backup. So you know that the worst case scenario is that you're going to get spot for your coin if you sell it to Bullion Now. You know that's your worst case scenario. So now go shop around and see if you can get a better price somewhere else. Yeah, sure, I've just shot myself in the foot. I'll freely acknowledge that right from the start, but it's part of offering a good service. You know, if you can get a better price somewhere else, and look, you probably can. If you go on to some of these forums that I mentioned earlier, silverstackers.com.au, Gold and Silver Stackers is a Facebook group. That's another one. off the top of my head. This function that Ruben talked about earlier in the Melbourne one, the Melbourne, for want of a better term, swap meet. You go to those sort of things, you can quite often you'll get a better price because they will say, well, I want that. If I go to Bullion Now, I'm going to have to pay, I don't know, let's make up numbers here. I'm going to have to pay $50 above spot to get it. Whereas you say, well, I know that if I sell it to Bullion Now, I'm only going to get spot. So they might say to you, look, how about we go halfway? I'll pay you $25 over spot. And that way you get $25 more than you would if you handed it over at Bullion Now. And they got it $25 cheaper because they're not having to buy it straight from Bullion Now or another coin dealer. So that's the way I would approach it if I wasn't working for Bullion Now. I work for Bullion Now, so of course my spiel is going to be, we pay spot, come and sell it to us.
There's a really interesting question there from Philip. If I want to take some gold or silver overseas, do you have a list of good bullion dealers that will buy back in local currency, going to London, New York? Would we ever do a bit of a... I realize potentially you're a bit hesitant with this because it's actually a little bit of the backstory as to why you created Bullion Now in the first place was because you weren't happy with where you were sending certain people for bullion products when you were just doing the coin, the numismatic coins. But it would be a super helpful thing to be able to go here. Here's a directory of someone that you've even personally had good experiences with. This is the kind of rate they pay. That kind of thing. Does that exist in any form?
I'm really hesitant with this one for the reason that Ruben said. And there's a lot of the overseas dealers, particularly over the last 12 months to 2 years, have actually been taken over. There is a real generational shift going on at the moment where the older guys are pulling out and they're either closing down or larger companies are taking them over. And so the one that I can recommend today may not be the one that you roll into tomorrow. So I'm very, very hesitant with this one to recommend anyone overseas.
I guess local info is almost always the best. If you're able to tap into a Facebook group over there or a forum or just people who deal with the dealers over there on a daily basis, they could say, hey, don't go here, go there, that kind of thing. That's it. We have plenty of people around Melbourne that just today we had someone email us through and say, hey, I gave you guys a shout out on a certain news article, I think it was, because hey, I've had a really good experience with you guys and I want to talk about you. And similar to what we were saying before about word of mouth being the best kind of advertising you can have. It's the same thing. If you want good, proper local information, us sitting here on the other side of the world, we're really not going to be able to give it to you as updated for a local town somewhere on the other side of the world, even if it is a big place like London or New York. Talking to people with boots on the ground in those locations is always going to be your best course of action. Yeah.
Look, Monotramata's suggestion there, ask backyard bullion's not a bad idea. Some of these online channels that are based overseas, it's not a bad idea to float your question on there. James Howard, I haven't seen him go through on today's chat, but James lives in the UK. He would be another one I'd reach out to and say, hey, look, I'm coming to London. Can you suggest someone? So that's probably the way I'd approach it.
Desi's question there. Out of curiosity, who came first, the Little Coin Shop or Bullion Now?
Little Coin Shop.
Exactly.
Well over a decade.
There's also been an email question we've had come through this week. Bit of a change from our regular topics of conversation. But they say, what is your opinion on Opals as a longer term investment? We talk about some of these alternate terms of investing, like gold and silver or real estate, or like different things. What would you say about Opals?
Do you want to take this one, Matt?
I would say I don't know anything about Opals, but if I were investing in Opals, I wouldn't. Personally, I wouldn't. So maybe this is best for you, Michael. I tend to steer clear of things that I don't know enough about to make an educated or informed decision. And Michael's fully tipped out. He hates the question.
I'm back. I ducked off for a reason.
You got your Opal pamphlet.
I was my comment was going to be I feel like it's one of those things I could be completely wrong on this, and I similarly am very uneducated on this, but from what I have been led to believe, it's something that is found quite commonly here, but not quite so much around the rest of the world, or at least very different to the rest of the world. So to me, I feel like it'd be one of those things that would make sense to potentially pick up here in some kind of quantity and then sell overseas. Would you get a better rate? That's how I would look at doing it. But I don't understand the opal industry that well.
Both of you have touched on a really important point.
That we don't know.
Both of you have said, I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
And that is the key. That's actually why I was... That was the response that I was actually hoping for from both of you. Because I don't know enough about opals either. But what I do know is that if you are moving into an area that is a specialty area, you've got to get good independent advice on it, because you can buy... Diamonds are the same. You can buy uncut diamonds and they can be a fantastic investment. Opals can be a fantastic investment if you buy the right ones at the right price from the right person, and then you know how to sell them as well. Don't forget, it's with these things, it's not just the buying, it's the selling as well. Because if you don't know how to unload them properly, you're not going to get your money back. That is a really important point. If your answer is, I don't know, then my suggestion is don't.
Yeah.
We've got a diamond dealer next door to us, the one that I talked about earlier, that is moving on. And even he struggles at times, and he's been in the industry his whole life. It's a family business. It's a generational business. And he still says, diamonds are very, very difficult to invest in from an investment perspective. If it's so easy to get wrong, and you can do your dough over the slightest thing. And it can be something that you can't even see with the naked eye. So as far as investments go, I would steer away from it. And part of that is exactly the same reason as the two boys said, I don't know. And part of that is I also know how difficult it is to actually make a good investment into those things, because everyone has a bias in them, whether it's the person buying them, or trying to get you to buy them, whether it's the person selling them, whether it's the person you're trying to sell them to, all these types of things. There are so many grades and flaws and problems and, things. A flaw in one person's eye can be, it's a little bit like collector coins. Somebody that sees it as a flaw, the next person says, I'll pay extra for it because I love the toning on that coin, or I love the imperfection in that opal because it catches the light and it shows the greens off better, or the yellows off better, or the blues off better, or whatever it is they're trying to highlight. There's so many combinations and variations there, and we see them come into the store, and the boys will have dealt with them as well, where they're jewelers, they're diamond dealers, they're opal dealers, and they're confused, and they're the ones that are dealing with it every day. It's too hard. It's such, like, even if you know about it, I would caution you about buying into it as an investment. And if you don't know about it, then steer away from it. Go to something easier. And it's the basis of a lot of the chats that we see go through on our live chat, is that people say, I buy gold or I buy silver, and I buy bars, and I just go for the cheapest I can, because they don't have to worry about what Matt would see as a coin. And, no, but you're better off buying this coin because it's this year and it's this date and it's this floor and it's this condition and all that sort of stuff. And you sit there going, well, that's all well and good, but I basically don't understand the language that you just talked. And even if I did buy it, where would I sell it? Who would I sell it to? I don't know how to liquidate it and get my funds back. So steer away from it. The reason I shot off camera for a second was to grab this book. And I've talked about this book. I haven't talked about it for ages, but I've talked about it many, many times.
I think it's the first time we've actually shown it.
Sorry, mate?
I think it's the first time we've actually physically shown it. You have referred to it before, but to actually have, a copy in hand is always a good thing. Maybe we need one for the background of the set.
This is a very, very good book. It's a very simple book. It looks like a very thick book when I look at it like that, but it's quite large type, and it's broken up into almost parables. Like each chapter only goes for a few pages. And one of the parables, one of the stories there, is a discussion about a guy he's just up and coming, and he's trying to learn how to do investment. And his mentor says, what have you done with your money? Oh, I gave it to such and such who's going over to another land, and he's going to secure me precious gems that we're going to bring back and we're going to sell and share the profit on. And of course, you can see what's coming. The guy goes over, takes his money, and comes back with these precious gems, and they turn out to be coloured glass, and he does his dough on it. And it reminded me of that story in this book. And that's very much where I'd lean to with this question is, unless you really, really know what you're doing, stay away from it. But I would take the funds that you are looking at investing into Opals, and I'd use a small part of it to buy this book. And it's an old book. It was written back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But the information in it is as relevant today as it ever has been, and it will still be. I'll still be banging on about this book in 100 years' time. It is a book that everyone should have. I've given away more copies of this than any other book in my life. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, or George S. Clason, and it is invaluable, and I can't recommend it enough. So it costs you, I don't know, if it costs you $20, I'd be surprised. You can probably find secondhand copies all over the place. It's a fantastic book. I read it my first time. I think I read it when I was a teenager, and I've basically never been without the book since. And I'm actually on, I don't know if we said this at the start, I'm actually away technically on holiday at the moment, although I haven't spent much time on holiday. But technically on holiday, I brought it with me to read it again, because I try and read it at least once a year. It's good book, good information.
And we don't even have an affiliate link or anything like that to be making money off this. It's just genuinely Michael's thoughts there. So,
yeah, I don't. There is no way I can get a kickback from this. So I'm not promoting it for any other reason than I think it should be in everyone's library, and everyone should read it at least once, at the very least once.
All right, we are starting to get towards the end, but there was a topic I wanted to briefly talk about because we've had a lot of questions this week about upcoming releases that people feel like should have already happened for this year. So there's a few different things that, you know, they've looked at the release schedules for 2023, 2022, and gone, hang on a minute, we're missing this one. What happened? So there's a few that have been kind of in the in the spotlight, and I don't know how much we're able to talk about or how much you've heard, but the big one, I think, for a few people has been the rectangular dragon in the gold and the silver.
We have news on that one.
Is it news we're able to talk about?
Yeah, we are. So it will release date for the rectangular dragon is the 18th of July. So you've only got just less than 2 weeks to wait on the release of that.
The other one is the wombat. We've seen a few questions about that.
I haven't heard news on the wombat yet. Yes, we have. Is the wombat the one that's... No, that wasn't the wombat. What was that? That's been delayed till October.
We decided that was the emu, not the swan like we
emu,
made the
that's the one that's been delayed. Yeah, I haven't heard about the wombat, but we don't get... I don't believe we get access to the silver wombat. Actually, I don't think they produce it in gold anyway. So no. I don't think we get access to the wombat. That's an overseas production, that one from Perth Mint.
So, and there's also been some questions about some of the Royal Australian Mint products lately. There's like the Wildflower series, but also I saw someone recently talking about, actually they I think emailed in asking if we knew anything about the State series, the coat of arms that we've had the New South Wales one, the Queensland, and I think maybe just a general Australia one was a part of that series as well. But have we heard anything about the next in that series? I think it was April last year that came out.
You heard anything on that, Matt? Because I haven't.
No, it's been incredibly quiet. Much like the Floral Emblems series. It seems to have just tapered off. But I imagine that's probably the Royal Australian Mint favouring their non-circulating legal tender program. There's a lot more action there for them than the bullion thing. Because it seems to have been, just from the outside looking in, they've sort of just dipped their toe into the bullion arena. At the time that they've done that, the collector market has just gone absolutely ballistic. So it seems to be that they've run off their feet with that side of the business. Now, I don't know how their business operations are divvied up, but I would imagine that if I were in charge, you would be putting a lot more emphasis or putting resources into that area of the business, because the Perth Mint pretty well have a lot of the bullion supply under control, whereas the collector coin demand from the RAM is through the roof at the moment. But I don't know. I can't speak on their behalf.
RAM's still trying to come to terms with the effigy change and getting circulating currency out there with the new king on the back. Never mind producing any of the bullion series and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you'll see RAM, or I think we're seeing RAM pull back on a lot of things. I think that's only one of them. Perth Mint doesn't have that excuse, I suppose, to a large degree, but they are still having a lot of things stuck in Treasury. And Matt and I joke about this semi-frequently on camera, but it's actually a real thing. They have to have everything approved by Treasury, any Australian currency anyway, approved by Treasury. And it seems to be a bit of a drama trying to get that through the system. So, yeah, that's why we're seeing a lot of these things pushed off.
Speaking of drama,
I'm surprised we haven't had the question. Sorry, mate, you go.
I've got nothing to say. I've just noticed a few things going on.
There's
behind the scenes activities.
There's a couple of other ones people are querying. Where was it? It was Jeremy. Will you be getting any gold Britannias of any size in stock anytime soon?
I have a feeling that we've got some arriving very soon.
Okay.
On the Britannias.
Fantastic. Are we expecting to get a lot of the 1 ounce gold dragons? Yeah. They are limited to 8,888 though, so there's only so many lot we can get. But we should be getting a decent amount of those through, so I wouldn't stress too much about that. Yep. Any word on the Perth Mint mother and baby for 2024? Or the next generation, I believe the Americans call it.
Yeah. I want to say they're released next week, but don't hold me on that one.
Oh, okay.
We've got our order in for them anyway. I'll put it that way.
Good stuff. Again, might be a Matt question, could be a similar thing, but the 5 ounce Deadly and Dangerous series out of Royal Australian Mint.
Yeah, same deal. I haven't heard anything about that. I'm sure that will continue though. That's been a really well received series. So yeah, not sure.
Are we likely to get another batch of Beskar bars for 2024, Michael?
I'm going to say no, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them come through again.
And BDK
we
is asking...
don't currently have an order in for them, I'll put it that way.
BDK is asking, but I'm pretty sure I saw someone else ask before as well, about if we've heard anything for another Ice Age coin from the Royal Canadian Mint.
That's the woolly mammoth and the...
Yes.
And the saber-tooth tiger. Series, Rubes? The saber-tooth. They are. I'm sure they're doing another one. I can't think of another one in the series though. But I don't expect to see another one until next year.
If you've seen Ice Age, there's at least a there's at least a sloth they could do.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Diane asks if we're getting any of the Royal Arms coins.
We're not, but I believe there is another bullion dealer in Melbourne that is. And I'll give you more information on that when I can confirm it.
Yep. There was another one I saw come through. I was Roxy's dad. Were we getting any of the Star Wars 1 ounce bars in plastic packaging? If it's the one I saw, I actually wasn't that thrilled with it, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
As a massive Star Wars fan, I kind of went, oh, and we've pulled apart a couple of designs recently, so I really don't want to be known as the people that are just always poo-pooing on designs. There is some really great designs that we really do love, but I saw that one and kind of went, oh, maybe not.
Yeah. The design was a little underwhelming. I don't know. I hate to say this, but I actually think we've got an order of them coming in. So I want to confirm that with Adam before we're committed to it.
We'll have to see if they're one of those ones that actually looks better in person.
Yeah. Look, people are starting to jump on the Creatures of the North one from the Royal Canadian Mint. As far as we're aware, they've drawn that one to a close.
I think there's hope that it's not like the
couldn't find
Creatures
any
of the
more
North,
Creatures
where
of
it's
the
only
North.
2. Yeah. I think people are hoping they don't do a pull another 2-coin set for the Ice Age series and they keep it going.
Yeah. Their intention is to... Last I talked to the Canadian Mint, their intention was to keep it going. They said they had more selection with the Ice Age one.
I'm hearing from our wholesaler that it sounds like we haven't ordered any of those Star Wars coins bars.
Okay.
I think they're the bars. Yeah.
There you go.
Jim
What happens on
asking,
live TV?
Jim asking if we're getting any of the Spanish gold coins.
Oh, I'd love to. I keep getting outvoted on this one.
It's the one with like
Because I
a
own
lynx on
company,
it,
I'd
right?
actually get a choice in it, but I don't.
Is it a lynx and a toro?
Yeah, that would cool.
It's in that series. I don't think the 24 is a lynx though.
Okay. We do like to get the international flavour through from time to time, and I don't think we've never had them before. Besides a couple come through buyback, so I'm definitely not committing us to anything. But at some stage, it would be cool to at least get an order of those through.
Yeah.
People are saying
We need
it's
to
an
start
eagle.
wrapping this up, Rubes.
We do. We kind of already started hitting
We've
some
already done
rapid
1,000
fire.
questions in 20 seconds.
Yeah. If there was any quick ones you wanted us to hit before we finished up for the week, that would be good. Next week, are you going to be here with us, Matt, or are you going to be
I'm
off?
be in Perth.
You're going to be off in Perth doing the Ender show we were speaking about at the start. So
This is going to be interesting.
yeah, we'll come up with something because.
Yeah, you might end up seeing Ruben on camera. Look out.
We'll see what happens there. Hopefully we can sort out some of our technical difficulties. But
I'll send back a photo of me with a quokka. You'll have to do what's the word? Guess who? Who's who? I don't know what the game is.
that's it. Maybe we'll have to get
Guess
some special guests through. All right, let's start to
A
quickly.
couple of things before you launch off on the questions.
Yeah.
2 things that we snuck up on the web this week that we haven't publicised yet. The Britannia bars, the 10-ounce silver Britannia bars, are back in stock for a short period of time. We didn't get as many through as I was trying to, I don't think. So, but Adam pushed them through and got some, so they're available back on the web. The other thing we quietly snuck up on there was the Australian gold poured bars book by, help me here, I'm having a mental blank.
Come on.
Kim Brett, thank you. We've got another, this is the last batch of them. I had to twist Kim's arm fairly seriously to try and get the last ones off him, but he assures me he's cleaned out under the bed and in the cupboard and the whole box and dice, so we have the last of them available. So if you're into that book, if you've missed out on it, grab them, because I don't believe we can get any more at this stage. We are in negotiations with Kim about a second edition. No, we can't call it a second edition, a further edition. But stand by on that one. But if you want one now, and I'd strongly encourage you to get them if you're interested into the poured gold ingots, or even if you just want a coffee table book, I think they call them, just for discussions. It's a really non-threatening way to talk to people about gold, rather than saying, "Hey, come and have a look at my gold bar that I've got in the safe." You can have this display on and discuss it about the pictures, and it's far safer than showing your collection in your safe of kilo gold bars.
We were also talking about having a bit of a communal one for the shop, not for sale, but if someone was able to come through and wanted to take a look at some of the great info in it, they could peruse it through there and glean some of the really valuable information from it. So
yeah, we absolutely should. And I was going to get mine brought in, but I actually forgot to get it on today's courier run.
All right. No, it does not turn into a coffee table. It's not a coffee table book. All right. Let's hit a couple of these. There's one from Metal Inquisitor, always asking about the 1 ounce gold Asahi's Dragons. Michael, what's the go?
Not yet.
Okay. Great Southern Land coin. Have we heard anything?
I was trying to head that one off earlier. No, heard nothing about it.
And James asking about the Myths and Legends and Dragon bars in silver.
I I haven't heard anything much about the myths and legends. You heard anything about that, Matt?
No word.
Yeah, that's another one that seems to have disappeared into the ether.
And anything on Tudor Beasts?
No, they've gone very quiet on that.
And I think SBS missed it at the start, but yeah, is there any update on Pakenham?
Yeah, soon, very, very soon. It sounds like we might actually be able to shoot. Actually, I know we can't do it next week, but maybe the week after we could do the live stream out of there.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, that'd be good.
There's a
A
thought.
bit of a tour.
Yeah, could be good fun.
Alrighty.
Okay, somebody says that Richest Man in Babylon is only $13 on Amazon.
There you go.
So best $13 you've spent for a long time.
There you go.
Good stuff. Alrighty, I think we're going to call it to a close there. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this week, especially hanging around through our hiccups at the start. Thank you very much for bearing with us there, but we got through and had some good chats afterwards. So yeah, was very good. We
Should
will
be good.
We will see what we do for next week. I think we're going to have to go away, have a bit of discussions. Matt won't be here. Michael will be trying to come to us live again, hopefully from afar, and we'll see if we can come up with something exciting for next week's stream.
I know we could do live stream with me snowboarding down the hill and going up on the lift,
I
and
think I'll
then
have
coming
to,
down the hill in the snow patrol to the ambulance.
Well, that's kind of what I'm worried about. I don't know if I have to flag it for violence or
Perfect.
accidents and injuries, something like that. All right.
Yeah, but it'd be live, mate. The views we get.
Yeah.
Put a laugh track on it.
All right, we need to wrap it up there. So thanks everyone for joining in to the usual chaos and curiosities and all sorts of things that we bounce back and forward with. Stay tuned next week. We have no idea what's going to happen next week, but we will have something on live streaming at 2:30 next Friday. We might even get a phone in from Matt. I don't know. We'll work out what we're going to do next week. We have some good releases coming through next week. We even have a political coin being released next week. So that'll be some fun and games there. I hope you're enjoying the school holidays and you're surviving it. I know it's been chaos in my household, but lots of fun there. Thank you again to Ruben and to Matt for joining in and making it great fun. And from my side, I will see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.